Okay, I'd like to call the Social Services and Housing Committee to order and ask anyone to declare pecuniary interest either now or if it rises down the agenda. Again, I welcome those that are visiting us live streaming this afternoon. Item 2, Bruce and Gray Community Information Portal. Pam Hillier. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here today. So are we going to put the deck up or? We don't want everybody looking at me. We want to look at what's up here. So it's a pleasure to be here. I work for an organization in Collingwood called Community Connection, and we're most well known for our 211 service. So we're one of the 6 organizations. So I'm here today to talk to you about our portal project and kind of show you how it works. So I'll give you a little bit of background where it comes from, why we did it, and then show you a few screenshots so you'll know how to use it and tell others about it. So hopefully everything will work. With the clicker, do I have to turn it on first?
We can do it here as well.
Oh, okay, so I will signal you, Christine, to. So my organization in Collingwood is Community Connection, as you know, so we work to connect people to services or helping people access the services that exist or that our tax dollars and donations support in our communities. We also are a volunteer center in the Collingwood area, so that's going to touch on this a little tiny bit. But as I said before, 211 Ontario is our biggest amount of work that we do. So next slide, please. So with 211, we do 3 things. I think you've heard this before, or most of you have. Obviously, the most obvious one, obviously, is public inquiry, the phone side of what we do. The second is community resources, and that's where this project comes in. So we manage a database. We make that information on those services available through the 211 Ontario website, and then we track and record why people are calling. So the resources that we may maintain for 211 Ontario, we have over 60,000 programs and services. And our staff, we have staff teams that every day are contacting organizations and programs and updating that information. We're scouring media, things like that, looking for new programs and services. So the whole idea with us is that we want to present all the information and services that are available in the community and let the folks that need help determine which resource they want to go to or follow up with. So it's the same information our 211 staff use on the phone lines. So our region, we're one of 6 211 call centers, so that green map indicates the area we're responsible for. We had 31, what's interesting is that we had 31,000 calls from the green map area, but we had over 1 million uses of our online information. So it's really evident that people are looking online for resources more so than calling or walking into places, I think. So the online access, they call it sessions now. Those of us that have been around a while used to call them visits, things like that. They now call them sessions. So I've got the description up there for you. And I'm just going to show you how it got so busy, why there's so many uses of our data. And I'll just, next slide, please, Christine. So when someone Googles, which is the top search engine, I think, for a service, our records actually pop up in the list. So that creates a session when someone clicks on it. So it's really valuable. It makes it very easy for people to find the services in their community as opposed to remembering a website or a name of an organization. They can Google it directly. So it's a very powerful way for people to access the information that we're able to provide. So I put, is this a PDF?
It's the slide.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. This was interactive to show you kind of how it works, so I'll try to explain it to you. On the left side, the Central East region, which is that green map, we have this database that's in the cloud, and some of that information we put into several online directories, which is the visual going up. So we have about 27 different specialized online spaces. Some of it's mental health across multiple regions and different things. So this one that we've created obviously is broad community information, but specifically for Bruce and Gray counties. Some of the information that's in our database goes over to our CCAC in Simcoe Muskoka or Home and Community Care now, and then they push that up to their provincial system. That's using their, they're now called Health Shared Services Ontario, I think. Also back to Central East, we push all of our information over to 211 Ontario, and then 211 Ontario shares some of that information with provincial databases. So the whole story of this is that when we spend the time to update information with all the Bruce County services, for example, it's only one organization spending the time to update it, and then it can go anywhere that information might be made available. All of the records are available to suggest an update. So folks, when they update it, maybe if it's available in a government directory, it would be updated instantly in every one of those instances where they appear. So the whole idea is to save money, centralize resources, and make it more accessible to folks. So this is some facts about this project. We developed it as a link instead of another website that people have to remember with a URL. So it's going to be placed on each of the counties' websites, and then I'm assuming municipalities and so on and so forth will also put that link there as well. So we'll show you what that looks like. It has, it's customized to about 1,500 organizations and programs that are both located here in Bruce and Grey counties, but also serve the region. So there'll be the provincial services are also there. The primary goal is to make it easy, one place for staff to go to find who to contact. So we can eliminate manual lists or Excel files and things like that that need to be maintained or get out of date if they're not maintained. So single place, easy to access, and is for not only staff obviously, but also public, or when you're serving clients, you can use the tool to do different things. Our group, we had a task group that helped us to decide how the categories were structured. So this is like homegrown from Bruce and Grey County, how they wanted things presented. And so that's what it will look like. So we're going to continue to update that. It's based on our 211 piece, so there's no ongoing cost to the program to keep it current. We have options in there online for folks that are using it. If they see something that's out of date, they can update it themselves, suggest an update. Our staff at 211 receive those suggestions. We vet them and publish them, usually within 48 hours. Listings can be shared by email, social media icons, so if a caseworker is working with a client, they can email them a list of resources that they could follow up on or other services that they might need. And each listing can be displayed out with a Google map to help people find where things are located. So I'll just start with what the front page looks like, give you an orientation to it and a couple of examples. So the top menu there has a banner. It has options to suggest a record or to email a question if you can't find what you're looking for. But we've also put links to 2 other Bruce Grey portals that existed because we knew they'd be helpful to users. One is for volunteer opportunities, and one is for the Refugee and Settlement Directory. So this slide's an existing portal for volunteer opportunities. United Way of Bruce Grey provides funding to support this. But it's really a space where organizations can post the volunteer jobs that they have and where the public can search and see where they can volunteer. It's right now we have about 40 organizations have posted 62 volunteer opportunities. So this will really help folks that are maybe unemployed, want to learn some new skills. They might be able to find some volunteer opportunities as well to give them some new things to learn. The other link was to the Bruce Grey Refugee and Settlement Directory. Again, we received some funding last year through, maybe it was 2 years ago now, through the United Way. And the portal aims just to centralize specific information for the refugee and newcomer settlement groups, but also to list all of the groups so they can connect with each other and provide support. And we know who's involved in those. So those links are right off that main menu of the portal. The portal has 3 search sections. You can search by keyword or those great subject categories that the task group created, or you can just search by alphabet, which is very easy to use. You can type in here then on this, in the keyword search, you can search you could input your community where you are looking for, a proximity searching, and then as you type in the type of need, it auto-populates with suggestions to make it easy just to pop down and select the service you need. So if we've selected the community and the preferences for their distance, then they can pick on the category. So in this one, we've chosen income programs. When you select that one, it populates with the groupings of the services that exist under those income programs. Going again, so they pop up, back one. there's a list of all the blue are the headers, so you can kind of quickly scan to which of those income programs make sense, and they're easily selected there and helps you see the whole range that's there for your, which might be of interest to you. The next slide is the browse by alphabet at the bottom. So I'll go back, keep going. So this one is showing two slides on top of each other. So the full listing could be several screens. So this particular program is the social services and their housing program. So there's a lot of details in the listing, eligibility hours, all those kinds of things, as well as all the different sites that are located, all the other programs related to the office, and as I mentioned before, the map and things like that. So everything's there to easily drill down and access the information for those for each of the programs. Right at the top are where are easy to find tools, so you can share the listing with someone else. As, for example, as I said before, a caseworker with one of their clients. You can share it on social media if you feel like it. And then you can also suggest changes, print it to a PDF, or just print it. And the dates that it was updated are always displayed, so you know the last time it was updated, so you can tell how current things are. So just in summary, that we're working right now on a few enhancements. We've already had a couple of good ideas. The more people that use this, the more people that are in the community that know what's going on, the more current it'll be, because they can let us know when any changes occur. It's set up with Google Analytics, so we'll be able to really monitor the use and what people are searching for and things like that on a regular basis. So.
Good, thank you, Pamela. Questions or comments from committee?
Yep.
That's a lot of information, a lot of good work, and I'm glad to see that over 1 million sessions. That's a new term I learned today, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, action items. 3A, Social Infrastructure Fund.
Okay, through you, Chair. We do have a report before you that the Housing Services Manager has prepared, asking that the Warden and Clerk be authorized to execute the agreement, amending our Service Manager Administrative Agreement for additional funding through the Social Infrastructure Fund. And so you'll see that we do have before you the 2018-2019 allocation of $296,500. And we've also provided for you then the breakdown by calendar year as to how that relates to the County of Bruce budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Staff recommendation, mover and seconder, Mike and Milt. Are there any discussions? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Oh, sorry. What was that?
Sorry. Okay.
We're just checking to see if you're paying attention, Darlene.
Okay, and so the other report that our Housing Services Manager has before you is with regard to our new rental approval request. Very exciting. When we launched the expression of interest in June, we had 2 expressions for new development, and you'll see that a staff panel from Social Services and Housing, the Planning and Economic Development, as well as Corporate Services reviewed the expressions and rated those, and we are making a recommendation that Bruce Peninsula Association for Community Living in Wyerton be recommended for approval with considerations and to be forwarded to the Ministry of Housing for that final approval through the Social Infrastructure Fund.
You've seen the report, staff recommendation, mover and seconder, moved by Milt, second by Janice. Any further discussions? Sure.
I just want to thank you for all of this. This is community living. I'm a humongous fan of community living in Wyerton. They're a wonderful, wonderful group. And to be able to provide some affordable housing for that crew is fantastic. So I'm thrilled that they were able to submit an application, and I'm really glad that your panel has chosen them. So on behalf of South Bruce Peninsula, I thank you.
Good. Any other discussions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you.
So the Bruce Gray Community Information 211 report was just for your information in follow-up to Pam's visit. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have from a staff point of view in that regard.
Any questions? Hearing none.
Okay, I also have before you an information report with regard to the 2018 Ontario Early Years Child and Family Centre funding. This has been long awaited. We've been talking about this transformation for a couple years and have been anxiously awaiting what the funding allocation would look like. And so I am happy to report that it's good news. In the report, you'll see that we've included a link to Ontario's renewed Early Years and Childcare Policy Framework, which really points out the importance of investing in the early years. And it also explains, the economic spin-off in the early years. So for each dollar that's spent in the early years, there's a $2 return immediately. And generally, later in life, we can expect up to a $7 return. And as you're aware, for a number of years, this council's been supporting our early years programs with an over-contribution. Preparing for this, I looked back over the last 5 years, it's been over $1 million that's been contributed through your leadership. So that is greatly appreciated. And you will see that I have before you the details. We do have a small increase of about $90,000 once we remove that over-contribution that we've had invested in the previous year. They also released the business practice and funding guidelines, and so staff are moving through that and looking at how we'll set up our programs as we move forward, and continuing to use the backdrop of the needs assessment and initial plan that we had put together and submitted to you in June to make those final decisions now that we have a sense of what our funding envelope looks like. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Any questions, comments?
Through you, Mr. Warden, I would like to recognize County Council in terms of the last number of years of continuing to support the program before the province came to the table to address the gaps in the funding formula. It's a real tribute to all of you that you did that over the last decade, because many communities didn't, and it's wonderful that the province has made the correction that needed to be made.
So can we leave early today then? Any other comments? Moving on.
Okay, so over the last year, you've asked some different questions of me when I've been before you with regard to childcare and fee subsidy and how that all looks. And so staff have been working to start to pull information from our new tools that we have available, in particular the One List program. And so we do have this information report before you, which outlines who's applying for childcare in Bruce County. I'm really excited to report that from January to June, we had over 1,000 applications for childcare in Bruce County. And of course, the greatest need is Saugeen Shores, Kincardine, and Brockton areas. So the staff have put together a number of different graphical representations for you so that you can see how things are divided out amongst the municipalities, and I can answer any questions if you do have any.
Any questions, comments? What was 2016?
That isn't information that we have. So with the new pieces that we've been rolling out, we're now able to, I guess, harvest the information from the website. So by this time next year, we'll be able to, of course, compare and let you see how those changes are taking place.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, and again, staff have prepared a community housing registry waitlist information report for your information. The not so good news is, of course, our demand for rent geared to income housing has increased dramatically, and the Housing Services Manager has outlined the various reasons that are impacting it. No doubt the greatest reason is the low vacancy rate that's occurring, and you'll see that we haven't seen vacancy rates this low for about 6 years. And so our wait list has been benefiting from the higher vacancy rates because it's easier for people to find housing that's adequate and affordable. But so now we're into a tightened market related to that economic spin-off that's happening.
Questions, comments on that report? Mike?
Just a comment to say it is kind of disturbing, and I know I hear it often in Saugeen Shores about the need that is out there, and it's frustrating how we deal with it. I think it always comes to money, and we don't have endless money, but what we are, I mean, you know, the plan's working. It's just, I think we need to be a whole lot more ambitious about housing in general.
I think it's safe to say we're growing, and that's going to cause these issues. So I don't know, like it's a double-edged sword sometimes.
Yeah, oh, I agree. But it's nice to have the growth, but it brings problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the last information report that we have before you again from the Housing Services Manager is a good news story. We did complete the secondary suite pilot, and I think that in our options of ways to respond to the housing need, this is definitely a good option. It's more affordable than some of the more expensive new rental developments, and you can see that through providing a small amount of money to a single family household, we're able to then create a secondary suite within it. And quite often what we find are these might be relations of the person, and so they've made a long-term commitment. And you can see the pictures that staff have pulled together to show that it really has created a comfortable and yet affordable suite that will work for someone for many years to come.
Mike?
Yeah, and it wasn't a lot of money in it, but I am surprised that there wasn't more uptake of it. If you got to, I mean.
So some of it is, it's newer, and as you're aware, both Kincardine and Saugeen Shores were in positions where they were entirely ready to go, and so we'd focus the pilot in that area. With all the work that planning's been doing with the official plan updates, if we were to run this program again, we would have other municipalities where people would be in the position that they're ready to go as well too, in terms of the zoning and the planning measures that are involved. So we're hopeful that we could see this happen again. And sometimes when you start new programs, that uptake, it just needs to get word of mouth to get out there and recognize that it's available.
Just getting back to the wait list, we have a lot of people that have homes that there's only 1 or 2 people living in a home. How could we maybe engage the public to open up their homes that people are maybe just getting by themselves, to somehow facilitate getting people into their homes where there's money coming in for the person that owns the home, and these people would actually physically have a home? So I don't know if there's any way we could, because the infrastructure's here now. It's just a matter how could we work together to maybe put these people together instead of putting capital out and building all these new buildings all the time. Just a thought.
Thank you. Definitely. Thank you. Conversation that we can have with our colleagues at planning to see about what opportunities we have to continue to move in this direction. And we are aware of various pilot projects that are happening across the province. In particular, there's one project that's happening in the Greater Toronto area where they're actually opening up homes for youth who are homeless. And so, you know, utilizing spare bedrooms and whatnot, and allowing the capacity of the community to respond in a different way. So we're keeping an eye on what's happening out there, and we'll explore this further.
So we have a cottage in Point Clark where the people bought it. They're living in the bottom of the cottage, and they Airbnb. They're bringing in $1,800 a month. So people are coming just renting rooms with sharing bathrooms, and people are paying for it. So I just think there's an opportunity. Okay, I think that's it. Next meeting, October the 5th, motion to adjourn. Robert? Janice? All those in favor?